you ever wanted to do art on the go? Perhaps plein air or just a general sketch at a cafe or something, but you don't know where to start. What should you put in a travel art kit? That's what I'm going to be trying to figure out today, hopefully. But basically, for context, I was on my social media and I was seeing a lot of artists sharing their very aesthetic, cool art kits that they take on the go when they're traveling and whatnot. And they just kind of for like their day to day use. And so, as somebody who likes to try to fit some sketching in, while I'm out, usually mostly the time at work, I wanted to go ahead and give this a shot of putting together sort of my ultimate travel art kit. So, on the regular, I do bring, again, like to work or during the summer, if my family's boating or something, I usually bring a sketchbook and some art supplies with me out on the boat. And typically in the past, I've always just had sort of these random little doodads that I would just sort of throw whatever it was I was using at the time in there, which is not a bad method, I think, of doing this. But again, I was very much inspired by some artists I was seeing who had sort of a dedicated set of things that they normally brought with them. So that is my goal. So I actually brought a new little sort of little art pack here, little purse, I guess you could say. I don't know. But it has a bunch of different compartments, different zippers, pockets, whatnot. So my goal here in this video is to try to put together a art kit, travel kit that encompasses a little bit of all of the medias that I use. So like watercolor / gouache, colored pencil, general mechanical pencil, all that good stuff, ink pens, as well as alcohol markers. I do use a lot of alcohol markers as well. So the idea is to try to hit all of those points in a way that hits all the necessary things where I feel like I'm not missing something in order to finish a piece, which a lot of times I do feel that way. Sometimes when I bring my sketchbooks with me places, especially if like say it is an alcohol marker based sketchbook, I might just have ink pens with me. I might not have all of the array of alcohol markers to my disposal with me, obviously, to feel like I can do a finished piece. And part of this is to try to break myself of that habit, because there's certain sketchbooks that I've had where I didn't have that feeling at all, and other sketchbooks where I definitely do feel it. So it might just be an issue with those sketchbooks for me. Point being, we're going to go ahead, we're going to break this down, and we're going to put together this little art kit, as well as essentially start a new sketchbook. I know I shouldn't be doing that because I have too many already that I've started and haven't finished. Part of my goal for the year, again, I've talked about in previous videos of like what my goals are. One of them, same goal as last year, is to fill 3 sketchbooks, and I'm actually due to do that coming up here soon based on when I'm filming this. But so we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into looking and breaking down my art supplies and figuring out what exactly I want to have in my travel art kit. All right, so let's jump into putting together this travel kit. And I will put a little disclaimer that this is, again, a trial run of this idea. And this is certainly going to be subject to change as I probably use it more. So likely expect an update later on down the road, which includes also like the blog post. I might do like a second one later down the road with an updated list. Again, check out the description for the full list of all the materials I'm about to talk about if you don't want to rewatch this video. So we got, of course, our little bag here with 1 pouch, 2 pouch, and the 3rd pouch. So we're going to get into this, and we're going to start off by talking about sort of the sketching materials that I want to keep in this. So first and foremost, I always, and again, I kind of know a little bit of like what I'm going to put in here because they are usually materials I grab on the regular. I always have 2 different types of erasers. This is more of a hard type of eraser. I'll show that on screen here. These I just got kind of in a mystery pack from Kawaii Pen, so I don't really know much more detail other than that about them, but I enjoy them. They're a little bit flexible, but they work as a bit of a harder eraser, but they're not too hard. And of course, I think everybody should have a kneaded eraser in their kit because it's just, you can shape it, you can get more fine sort of erasing tips in that way. You can shape it however you want, etc. So then I have my 0.5 Pentel mechanical pencil. And typically the lead that I put in this pencil is a mix. So I'll just have, your regular 0.5 HB lead, as well as this lead, which is actually supposed to be like a light blue, but it still comes off as a gray. Again, also got that off Kawaii Pen. And this next one is my favorite out of these leads, and it is the Uni 0.5 Mix Nano Dia Color erasable lead. And why I like this so much is it's multiple colors, so it makes everything kind of fun and random when you are sketching. I also will include some Prismacolor Colorase pencils, and these are definitely going to switch out as I use them because I will run out. But the two colors I'm going to stick with for right now are the Carmine Red and the Rose color, because I like those ones a lot. And sort of next things we're going to talk about here as far as supplies. Now, I will make a note that I'm not going to carry around these leads with me everywhere, but they're what's going to be in here. I just put a bunch in the mechanical pencil and call it a good day. I also would generally recommend at least having 2 different pencils with you on a regular, because I've been a silly goose and I will leave this one at home when I'm working on something else, and then I won't have something to sketch with. So that's why having something like the Colorase or a second mechanical pencil is definitely very helpful. Or alternatively, the next thing I'm going to talk about are the colored pencils that I'm going to include in my little kit here. So we're going to be doing a kelp green, so like a darker green. I also have a 90% warm gray. We have a chartreuse, an aquamarine, and these are all Prismacolors minus one out of this group, which is a, what is this? This is a Oh yes, it is Faber-Castell. Silly me. Then this is in color light magenta. We also have a blush pink, a sky blue, a henna, a pale sage, a lemon yellow, a permanent green, a dark purple, a light aqua, yellow orange, a permanent red, a 30% cool gray, a Spanish orange, and lastly, of course, a white colored pencil. And with all these colored pencils and Colorase pencils, of course, you're going to need a pencil sharpener of some sort. My favorite one here is a Faber-Castell one that has a bunch of different options for the sizes. So I find this one very handy. I've also used it quite a bit because it has gotten a little bit cracked and I had to washi tape that up. So next up for the art supplies, I'm going to include in here, these are sort of some outlier ones. I do have 3 different acrylic paint pens, 2 of which are the Posca brand. So I have it in white and I have it in ivory. So I'm going to include those because, again, I don't have a lot of these and they're nice for like different kinds of highlights. I will also throw in this other outlier that I have that I got from a random art kit, this Crink acrylic marker paint pen in this orange color, just as like a fun extra thing to see how I can use it. It's also starting to kind of dry out, so I feel like I should probably use it, or it's just going to end up in the trash. Next up are, of course, the inking related pens, which are, of course, just my typical Micron colored pens in black. Yep, all of these are in black. So we have various different sizes: 03, 02, 04, 005, a 08, a 05, and of course a 01. In this sort of same realm, I'm also going to include my Pentel Pocket Brush Pen, which is again just black ink, It's a fun, different texture to add in. And I will also be including, kind of on the highlight realm of things, a white jelly roll pen. And then as far as alcohol markers go, and this was kind of, I think, the hardest part of figuring out what I was going to put in here, because again, I am a little bit limited in how much I can fit in this pouch, but I ended up deciding on using some of my Uhuhu markers, because these are not typically I use as often, so I don't feel as bad kind of putting them in the set versus something like my Copic markers, which I just have so many of them, so I feel like this is a better option in here. But I actually just stuck with picking out grays because I feel like that's a good base to start with. So I have a yellow gray, I have a neutral gray 5, a neutral gray 2, a warm gray, and lastly, a green gray. And these all came from, I only have one set of Uhuhu markers. I've talked about it before in previous videos. I did a review of it. I'll link that somewhere, but it is just a pastel set of the Uhuhu markers. I can't remember how many are in the set, but that is where I got those out of. And of course, before we kind of move into some miscellaneous objects, we're going to, of course, add in my watercolor, because that is my main bay. So for any good watercolor set, you're going to need something to paint with other than just the watercolors. So we're going to put in the Pentel Aqua Brush pens. This is my second set of these because I think my first set had a little bit of a leakage issue. These ones I haven't had any issue yet with. So we have 3 of those. One's kind of a larger size, medium, and a small. Of course, you're going to need some sort of paper towel, which I've already used this one in the past, so no harm in keeping up and recycling. And I am going to include 2 different watercolor sets. One is going to be my OG Winsor & Newton little travel set, because I think this is a nice general range that you can do a lot with. You have a brown, you have a green, you have kind of a blue-green, and then you have kind of like an ultramarine blue, and then something that's kind of more like I guess teetering more on a navy blue. You have white, a red, an orange, sort of a brown yellow orange, more of a golden yellow, just normal yellow, and then a green yellow. And as you can see, they're quite crusty because again, I've had these for so long. So I'm going to include that set. And sort of for extra fun, I have to cover up the sticker here, but we have, this is a Prima watercolor set, and this is the Pastel Dream set, including a couple of different random metallic shimmery watercolor pans that I just stuck in there because there was space. So as you can see, you got some more browns, some pinks, a very vibrant orange, same with this yellow, a couple different blues, and a purple. So I figured it might be fun to include this in here because it has kind of a large range, but they're more niche down than, say, some of my other watercolor sets. And for the last little bit here, just as fun little extras, I'm going to include my little color wheel keychain to add onto the bag, and some dice, which I will talk more about these in a future video, so stay tuned. And we also have my funny little cat butt coin purse, because this is actually what I keep my kneaded eraser in, so it does not get super gross, because that definitely happens if you just let it loose inside a bag. With that, now we just got to get this all to fit inside the pouch. So speed that up, and we're going to do that. That is the process of me putting together this hopefully ultimate travel sketch set, I guess you could say. We'll see how this goes. my idea is to document working with this set and obviously putting things in this sketchbook in particular. So we'll see how this goes. There's another element to this whole process that I will be doing a separate video on, and it involves those dice. So if you're very curious to see what that has to do with, stay tuned, subscribe. Hi, I'm an artist on the internet doing artsy things and various other content creation based what's you have it. But yes, I think I will end up doing like a maybe a blog post kind of unpacking, listing all the materials so that you guys can reference that more easily than just me listing everything in the description. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. We'll see what I do. Sound off in the comments what you prefer. I might just end up doing both since I'll be writing it all down anyway. And do you think will this be a successful travel kit, or am I going to drastically change what is in it in the span of, a week or a month? We'll see how I want to document working in the sketchbook. But thank you all so much for watching. Remember to check out all the various links down below, including my website where you can find art prints like this. I have an update to the shop that happened on April 2nd. It might have already happened by the time you see this video. So there's some new prints on there if you so desire to add to your collection to decorate your wall. I need to finish decorating my walls in here. But yeah, I have another YouTube channel that's more like tarot-based stuff if you're interested in that. Or follow me on all my social medias. Just be warned, some of my social medias, like my Patreon and Blue Sky, is for more adult audiences. So just be aware of that. But thank you all so much, and see you in my next one. Bye-bye.